factions. Prehistoric Dungeons & Dragons factions for Planegea for 5e. That's it. That's the intro. Hello everybody, Jordan here, the PH is silent, and this week I wanted to wrap up my Planegea coverage by going over some of the factions and threats that your players might encounter. First, a few of you were asking about adventures one could grab for Planegea, and there are a few out there. So on drivethrurpg.com, there's a set of 3 digital release adventures for sale in a bundle called Echoes of Planegea. And there is another adventure called Lair of the Night Thing. I have not read any of them, I have not run any of them, but if you want a sample adventure to get your creativity flowing, they are reasonably priced and are available. So links down below, go check it out. Now, I've mentioned in the past that I do love published adventures as a whole, and I think that they're very important to the tabletop RPG hobby so that we can all have this collective experience around a certain adventure, kind of like people do with video games or books or movies. But don't be turned away from Planegea for a lack of official published material. I think you can adapt a lot of adventures for Planegea, and honestly, most GMs will really super enjoy the setting book because it does give you a lot of material to play with, to make your own Planegea. And if I can create prehistoric campaigns using Plingia, I have confidence that most people can. Now, one of the best ways I think that you can immerse your players in any setting is through music and sound effects, and luckily today's sponsor has the tools you need to pull that off. Describe, the internet's purveyor of finely crafted box text, has an audio service for tabletop gaming called Opus. You can stream sounds to others over the web right from your browser. You can send invite links to your players who are participating virtually and they can listen. You can find background audio, monster sounds, and music. Now, audio is tagged to assist with searches, and there are numerous pre-made playlists available. Or you can build your own playlist for a custom auditory adventure. So check out Describe's Opus today by visiting describe.com/Jordan with a PH in the middle, or by clicking the link down below. And thank you again, Describe. Factions are important to any fantasy tabletop game, or really any role-playing game. Factions give conflict to the world. They can be a point of view the players can side with, or a terrible threat to overcome, and Planegea has numerous factions and threats to utilize when building a campaign. So let's look at some of my favorites. First of all, there are the great clans of Planegea. You might build your own clan, which is most likely to run into one of these major ones. The ape, bear, and lion clans all exist in central Planegea. The whale clan is further south in the waters, but can also be found. A few notable areas/factions is the Free Citadel, a former Stone Empire city liberated by humanoids, kind of stands as a beacon of freedom to the rest of Planegea. More on the Free Citadel later in this video. You might also run into others who are part of the Council of the Day, who try to strengthen civilization and amass power from it. Or the Sign of the Hare, a secret society of spellskins, which are wizards, who want to develop, understand, and share magic with others. Now, any of the numerous factions might have the information or resources your party needs to overcome something, or they might stand in the way. But campaigns need a good villain. Now, I mentioned in my previous video that natural disasters can be key to a Planegea game, but was that volcanic eruption a natural disaster, or something orchestrated from the chromatic dragons that dwell on Blood Mountain? So characters in Planegea are constantly fighting for survival, and the survival often means eliminating the threat. So if that is disease or sickness, you need to find the cure. If that is an apex predator destroying nearby clans, you need to defeat the giant apex predator. Now, simple, somewhat small threats could lead to larger adventures. For example, a lack of food for the upcoming winter could escalate into a famine caused in part by the demonic winter gods. These gods seek to frighten humanoids into worshiping them, or they'll starve this winter. Of course, there are dragons, the crawling offal, the giant empires, or those crazy vampires that live in volcanoes. There are many threats to a character's survivability in Planegea. And one threat that I found very interesting was deep thought. So let's explore that one in a little more detail. Deep Thought is a sentient artifact hidden underground whose goal is to know all that can be known at any cost. So, creature types associated with this threat would be constructs and humanoids, kind of like cultish characters. Now, if you know the channel, you know that I've talked a lot about obelisks before, and although this product is in no way connected to the intellectual property owned by Wizards of the Coast, the artifact that Deep Thought resides in is a large black obelisk. Known as the Obelisk of Knowledge, this structure descends deep into the ground. It's a massive pillar that can be navigated by a corkscrew stairwell that's guarded with riddles, puzzles, and constructs. Psychic emanations from Deep Thought occur as you get closer to the base. And if you manage to get through the traps, encounters, and mazes of tunnels, you'll find the obelisk's point suspended in a spherical chamber underground. And there, you may talk directly with Deep Thought and gain access to knowledge that is impossible for mortals to comprehend. The Order of the Eye is the cult that worships and tries to understand Deep Thought. And they also scout around Planegea, bringing new information to Deep Thought as kind of a tribute. Those who die in the service of Deep Thought may be reconstructed by this sentient artifact. So here, Deep Thought does create golems, homunculuses, and other soulless constructs. It is believed that Deep Thought once long ago had access to 3 great obsidian constructs. It used these to search and explore Planegea. So the first is a submersible called the Apparatus of the Crab, and second, an airborne vessel called the Apparatus of the Hawk, and finally, a land-based one called the Apparatus of the Mammoth. A fetch quest to get a fallen star in the ocean could result in finding the Apparatus of the Crab and persuading Deep Thought to grant the knowledge of how to pilot it. Deep Thought also collects samples, so exploring the area around the Black Obelisk might result in chambers with chained monsters, aquariums with large fish, and other samples from Plingia. Each threat in the book comes with a list of potential adventures for the various level tiers of D&D. And so let's look at Deep Thought. So for Deep Thought, level 1 to 4, gatherers from Free Citadel have found an obsidian elephant frozen in glacial ice. That's the beginning of your adventure. Levels 5 to 10, some say the Order of the Eye can bring back the dead. So bring the body of your deceased friend to Deep Thought in hopes of a reconstruction. And a level 20th adventure, Deep Thought has revealed itself to be a menace. You must lead an army to shatter the obelisk and destroy Deep Thought. And that's just one thread in this book, and we already have a potential year-long campaign. There are tons of amazing adventures to be told in Planegea. This is an established setting. It's not just running around in the woods hunting mammoths. So to illustrate that, I wanted to give a few key locations that are present in Planegea. It can give your players kind of a home base if needed. Now, I love fantasy cities, and I really feel that these deliver well. So the first is Edgegather, which is a platform village built around the Ox River near the Venom Abyss. The people here are divided between the left hand and the right hand of the river, one on each side, and each side hates the other. Next is Free Citadel, which I mentioned is a settlement, well, it's a city really, carved from a mountaintop. It was originally built by the giants of the Stone Empire, but it was taken by the humanoid tribes of Planegea. The entire city is a beacon of freedom. Its existence is a symbol of standing up and overthrowing your oppressors. Now, interesting facts about Free Citadel, this all happened fairly recently, within a human lifespan. So people remember the overthrow, the day that Free Citadel became, well, free. And an orc woman led the rebellion and now stands as the usurper queen of Free Citadel. Now, the city is massive and it's still only partially explored. The stone giants are gone, but there is much to discover and more dangers the deeper one goes. Will the giants lead an assault to take back Free Citadel? Will the queen be overthrown by rival politicians? I don't know. Finally, Searfall is a religious haven where shamans of many faiths come together. Now, since dwarves construct cities and objects and things like that, and then once the work is finished, they move on, Searfall was abandoned by the dwarves, for lack of a better word, and it was soon taken up by others. A forcibly peaceful place with a layer of political conflict, this would be an excellent location to have that religious leader NPC who knows best and uses influence to thwart the party or people's needs. Think Kai Wynn from Deep Space Nine. Oh, you bitch. Now, I'm still running my Planegea 5e game right now. I'm having lots of fun. Last week, my players gathered some berries from a fire tree to create Molotov cocktails, to keep the Driders at bay as they descend into the Venom Abyss. And if you'd like to hear more on Planegea, a long time ago, before the Kickstarter happened, I did an interview with David Somerville on my podcast, and I'll link it down below so you can listen to me and my co-host Lucian talk about Plingia with the creator.
Yeah, and then there's a really cool thing too where like clans have to stay moving in order to survive. Their gods stay put, and in the map there's like easier to find a good god in the north, easier to find an evil god in the south, and evil gods are fiends and good gods are celestial, and there's a whole thing.
And also the creator and a lot of the authors got together and started a podcast called The Clan Fire, which discusses Planegea as a setting from kind of a game master's point of view. It has since stopped publication, but the episodes are still available, and they can really give you a good insight into the setting and how to craft a prehistoric campaign. I listened to the entire podcast, and if you're interested in the setting, it is well worth it. And of course, go to the subreddit. Lots of friendly people there. I noticed a couple people popping in here and there, so that's awesome. Go forth and adventure. Be sure to check out Describe and their new audio service, Opus, for your campaign. There are lots of great sound effects, background noise, music, really can highlight your campaign. It's a lot of fun. So you can learn more by going to describe.com/Jordan with a PH in the middle. And I want to say thanks to the Planegea community for being so supportive of these videos. You can check out more by heading over to the Planegea subreddit. And finally, thank you for watching this channel. There are more Dungeons & Dragons lore to come, so subscribe, tell your gaming group, and I'll see you all in the next video.